It's been a pretty typical La Nina winter with Pacific weather systems hammering the mountains of western Montana for months now. And it's good news for water supply, but it could be bad news for those living in flood-prone areas when things start to warm up. Russ Thomas has more on the potential spring flooding.
It's early March, which means it's time for National Weather Service hydrologist Ray Nicholas to give his first flood potential update for the late spring months of May and June. This is a year to keep a close eye on.
Some of the snowpack that we've been seeing is near, maximum of records for over the last 30 years.
While all of the basins in western Montana are of concern, with the 5 main basins sitting at 120% snow water equivalent or higher, the Upper Clark Fork at 156% and the Flathead at 140% are being watched particularly closely. And there is definitely concern in those areas.
With both the Clark Fork high water and then the Blackfoot high water, those combine and then they flow into Missoula. So we're concerned about Missoula right now. The Bitterroot's going to be running high too, but it doesn't have near the snowpack that the Clark Fork does. Another location that has really been accumulating a lot of snow is up in the Flathead. So the Flathead River looks like it's going to hit the flood stage this spring too.
Areas like Warm Springs Creek and Flint Creek are typically hit the hardest when the river runs high. In the Flathead, Columbia Falls through Kalispell are most impacted. As is always the case, the weather pattern over the next 3 months will dictate whether or not these projections pan out. Nicholas says that the long-range forecast does not look favorable for a positive outcome, and says those in flood-prone areas need to be aware of and ready for the worst.
We're looking at kind of a cooler and wetter type spring with the long-range climate models. And if that's the case, we'll continue to build snow in the mountains.
And all of that snow, sooner or later, will fill the riverbeds of western Montana. Russ Thomas, MTN News, Missoula.